If you have spinach in your fridge right now, then you have to make my sister's famous spinach squares. I learned this recipe years ago and I still make it quite often because they're so easy. Everything just gets mixed into one bowl, spread into a pan, and baked. Just like that, you have these savory, cheesy squares of spinach. You can enjoy these warm or cold literally any time of day. And just wait till you try them in a sandwich. When you learn how to make these spinach squares, you'll make them all the time. So right here I have an 8-ounce package of spinach. It's 227 grams. I'm going to dump it all into a bowl and then just kind of sift through it to make sure that there's no bad leaves at all. You also want to go through each leaf and rip off this tough stem here. So here's the front part of the leaf. You grab it and pull it towards the back. Just rip it off like that. And you can see how fibrous that is. That wouldn't go so well in our spinach squares. So I'm going to do that to all of them. See, not every single leaf has that stem, so that's good. So once all those stems are removed from the leaves, now we're going to do a cut called a chiffonade. So you just pile a whole bunch of your spinach leaves together like this, and now just make these nice thin cuts. So you end up with a nice fluffy julienne of spinach leaves. You want these to be nice and airy. I'm just going to go ahead and do all the rest of them. And yes, I did cut my finger during that little chiffonade session. But alas, we have all our spinach nicely chiffonaded. Now let's make our custard or royale for our spinach squares. So here I have 4 eggs. I'm going to crack each one into the bowl. Now I'm just going to give that a little whisk. All right, now I'm going to add 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, about half a teaspoon of salt, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. The amount of seasoning you add really is entirely up to you. Do remember that the cheese that we're going to add is going to be salty too, so don't go overboard with the salt. Actually, I think the whisk is probably better to do this part. All right. Now I'm going to add about 1.5 to 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese and also that spinach. All of it in there. This is going to be fun to stir. All right, now we can use the spatula. We're just going to mix it all together like this until it's fully incorporated. You want all that egg to be covering the spinach. You can see that in no time at all, that spinach kind of reduces down when you mix it. Get right down to the very bottom and make sure all that custard is fully incorporated into the spinach. Now right here I have a parchment lined 8-inch square pan. And it's very easy to line a pan with parchment paper. You need a piece of parchment paper that's about 2 inches larger than the pan. So you want to take a pencil and just trace the shape of the pan onto the paper all the way around. Take that parchment and just flip it upside down so that the lead of the pencil is not going to touch the food. Now you just see where each line is through the paper and make a good sharp fold on each side. So just make a nice sharp crease all the way around. And now with some scissors, you just make a cut along each of these parallel folds on the corners. Just make sure it's the same fold from the one across. So just a cut like that. So now you should be able to fold this almost like a little basket all the way around. And then you can just slip it right into the pan, just like that. And that easy, you've lined your pan with parchment. So now I'm just gonna pour this spinach mixture right into the prepared pan. Now when you're spreading this in the pan, you wanna make sure that, of course, it's all even across the whole surface, but you also wanna be sure that you don't have too many little peaks of spinach leaves popping up, because then they're gonna get really brown and almost look like they're burnt. So do your best to make it both very even, but also very flat. Right now you'll want to preheat your oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 177 Celsius. And we're gonna bake that for 30 to 35 minutes.
Or until it looks something like this. You'll know it's ready when you press it in the middle and it feels slightly firm and not wet at all. You're going to want to let these rest in the pan for about 5 to 10 minutes before cutting into them because it'll be a lot easier. And I think you're really going to thank yourself if you do this parchment paper trick because look how easily that comes out. And I love how these spinach squares stay so green even after they're cooked. You'd think they turn a really gross brown color, but they don't. Cut them into whatever size squares you want, but I like to do 9 because I think that's the perfect serving. If I wanted to do bite-sized spinach squares for an appetizer, I'd probably go for about 16. But don't you love how pretty these are? Just look at that vibrant green color. And I love how easily these cut into perfect clean squares. Think of how good these would look on a platter for a brunch table. And yet they were so easy to make. Now you could, if you wanted to, add some diced onion or sliced mushrooms, maybe some diced ham or bacon, but I myself personally like to just stick with the good old spinach and cheese. I think keeping the layers of flavor simple in something like this is always best. And remember, you can serve these warm or cold. I prefer them warm, but that's just me. And wait till you try a spinach square sandwich. Maybe this is a weird idea, but I just tried this recently and I'm hooked. That naan bread is nice and soft because I warmed it, and the spinach squares I warmed too. A good slather of mayonnaise, and that's all you need for this sandwich. So whether you enjoy your spinach squares like this or on their own, let's make my sister Lisa proud and whip up a batch tonight. Or maybe you want to check out this zucchini onion pie recipe.